Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Oh, let me adjust that a little bit for you. Here we go. Cool. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about, I think, a pretty interesting subject, which is what is the difference between electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve versus sonication. Very important distinction that we're going to make today. A lot of people are out there deciding whether they should either stimulate their vagus nerve with electricity or not stimulate their vagus nerve at all. And so I think that that's the wrong decision tree to be. Is my hat? There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. So the correct place to be putting your time and attention is between, are we going to electrically stimulate your vagus nerve, or are we going to sonicate your vagus nerve? Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to do that, but before we do that, we're going to do our simultaneous squeeze. And I got a special jingle for you guys. We'll be premiering it tomorrow. I came up with a little rhyme that we can learn this from, but we're just going to do it the natural way. Just follow my instructions. We're going to do a Valsalva squeeze. So ready? In 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath in. Take a sip of air at the top. Hold it and squeeze. And slowly exhale. Just like that. Good. Now, if you do the Valsalva squeeze right, then you should feel different. Okay? Should give you a moment of pause. And you're like, ooh, okay, I'm feeling something right there. And now, if you need to take a breath at any point throughout the video, feel your kind of mind, you're drifting off a little bit, you're more than welcome to do a little simultaneous squeeze right there. Just again, the process is big deep breath in, sip of air at the top, hold it and squeeze. And then slowly exhale. Just like that. Super simple, easy to do, brings blood to your head, brings acetylcholine to your memory. It's perfect, okay? So let's get into it. So as far as what we're going to talk about today, let me just kind of get some notes here for you all, because we're going to cover a lot of ground, and we're going to talk about the difference. Let's see, about difference between electrical stimulation and sonication of the vagus nerve. One is electrical handheld. The other is using ultrasound. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So let's see. The first place. Let's just get a bearing on where we're at right now. First of all, so what we're really discussing here is the field of neuromodulation. So anytime you talk about putting something external into the vagus nerve, we're talking about the field of neuromodulation, modulating neural activity. This is very important. This is the kind of field that Elon Musk is getting into with his Neuralink company. But that's an implant that goes through your skull and goes into your brain. So that's pretty extreme. I don't necessarily have anything against it. I don't think it's probably going to be practical for any of you watching this video. None of you watching this video are probably going to be considering, do I need to get an implant in my skull? That's going to be considered for if you are paralyzed. If you're paraplegic or quadriplegic, then it starts to make sense right now. But for the vast majority of you, you're going to be making a decision between what type of neuromodulation should you choose, okay? So there are two common techniques available currently that are popular for stimulating your vagus nerve, or really let's just keep it simple. There are two primary ways to modulate the activity of your vagus nerve when it comes to technology, okay? One is electrical stimulation, and the other is sonication. And sonication is arguably way different than electrical stimulation. Both methods have their own advantages and disadvantages. This is very true. But ultimately, what you're going to find out today is that given the option between the two, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll also be able to see that there's a big distinction and a big benefit and a big advantage in sonication of the vagus nerve versus electrical stimulation. And we're going to talk about why that is the case and why sonication proves to be the superior option in almost all cases given, okay? So yeah, we're going to explore the key differences between electrical stimulation and sonication of the vagus nerve. So let me get my Facebook peeps up here. Okay, good. So, oops. Just trying to get this posted here. Boom. Can everybody see me over on the Facebook, I hope? There we go. Okay, cool. Yes. So my Facebook feed is working. That's where I'm going to put my most of my attention here. So let's start with electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve. So everybody and their moms has heard about electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve. It's very common. A lot of people are running around with these handheld, battery-powered, 9-volt kind of powered, like stick it in your neck kind of stimulator systems, or like little necklaces that you wear that kind of like tingle in your throat, and these kinds of things. This is typically, if you're seeing an ad through Facebook ads, you're in the domain of electrical vagus nerve stimulation. So these deliver electrical impulses directly into this vagus nerve that we're talking about. The method has been in use for many years. It's based off of existing implants into the vagus nerve. So the handheld electrical stimulators got their start by looking at how people with epilepsy have a vagus nerve stimulator implanted in their neck and how that was working. And a guy, actually a guy who created Gamma Core, which creates the Truvaga device, which most of you are familiar with, this guy's smart. Back in 2004, J.P. Errico saw the practicality of these implanted chronic vagus nerve stimulators that put an electrical coil around the vagus nerve. And he asked, well, if it's working in those cases and it's chronic, meaning it's pretty much on and off 24 hours a day, these devices go on for 30 seconds and off for 3 minutes. So 30 seconds on, 3 minutes off. And it just goes back and forth all day long. And this will stimulate for about 5 to 10 years on average until you get the battery replaced. So this is a procedure that's done for people with epilepsy traditionally, who have seizures, and it's a very effective treatment. But he thought, well, if it's so advantageous, could you just put it into a handheld device? Why do you have to do it for 24 hours a day? Could you do it for something like maybe 2 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day? Why 24/7? And his suspicion turned out to be accurate. They found that they could miniaturize the electronics of the VNS device, put it up to the neck, and just stimulate across the skin right here. And you can get stimulation of the vagus nerve if you pulse the electricity just right, that it can get deep enough to shear across the vagus nerve. But given that you have a big muscle here, you have to get the penetration depth correct. And not all electricity can do that. So if you're thinking like, well, I've got batteries in my house, why don't I just lick them and stick them on my neck? Typically, you need a lot more electronics driving that for that to work properly. So don't get too creative. Yeah. So here's an advantage of electrical stimulation, which is in general, well, I'm just going to stick to the non-implant. Does that sound fair, guys? Does that sound fair? We're just going to talk about comparing apples to apples, because I'm not going to compare sonication to an implanted device, because there are no implantable sonic delivering devices. So we're just going to go with all handheld stuff, okay? So an advantage, not necessarily an advantage with electrical stimulation, but also it's not a disadvantage for sonication, is that by placing it right here in the neck, you can target the vagus nerve specifically. So that is an advantage. And you can adjust the parameters and the intensity and the pulse rate of electricity pretty easily through software, through little chips. And this gives the ability for a medical professional to then modulate through electricity the nerve's activity and to potentially achieve the desired therapeutic result. So additionally, electric stimulation devices are often very portable, very easy to use, making them accessible in different situations. Most of these electrical handheld devices can be put in your pocket, put in your purse, put in a backpack, can go with you. So there are some big advantages there. However, there definitely are limitations to electric stimulation. So first and foremost, electrical currents may cause discomfort. This is a very important feature to be aware of. You'll typically see in the advertisements for a lot of these products, people putting something on their neck and looking all happy and like, wow, I feel so good. They're not showing you the full picture. Sticking a 9-volt battery into your neck, or a 12-volt battery, or a 14-volt battery is what they usually are putting in there, is not the most pleasant sensation in the world. Let's just say that. So there are levels of discomfort. So here's the thing. Let's say at this level, there's no stimulation. This level here is where pain is experienced. The therapeutic dose sits just above and below that pain threshold. Some people can get their therapeutic dose before the pain kicks in, but they have a very narrow window of pain. Some people are the opposite. Some people, to get their therapeutic dose here, they have to really push the bounds up to just that very marginal window of a therapeutic dose, but no pain. And so this is different for everyone. Where your therapeutic window sits in relationship to the pain threshold is different for everyone. So you'll typically see some people, they're great. They can get therapy down here and they don't hit the pain threshold. There are other people who are even weirder, where their threshold for therapy is almost like boom, right at the very top. So just to be able to get something therapeutic, they're already starting at a painful level of input of electricity into the vagus nerve. This can act as a very big detriment for someone who may actually benefit from vagus nerve stimulation. It's not to say that they couldn't benefit. It's just to say that it's not going to work, or they just got to literally bear their teeth, because oftentimes it makes your jaw clench sometimes. And you just got to kind of take the pain and do it. Okay. So this can limit the duration of a therapy session to something just below therapeutic dosage. So that can be inconvenient. It may not be feasible. And so also a lot of these devices have to be recharged, or some of them are non-rechargeable. You basically use them and throw them away. So there's kind of an uncertainty in the electronic vagus nerve stimulation field, where there's no standardization of care. It's just a bunch of different companies kind of trying to do a lot of different stuff. And they're just trying different models and seeing what sticks. Some people like one thing versus the other, and some people don't like the other, and that's just how it goes. So these factors, especially when it comes to the discomfort from electrical stimulation, can impact negatively compliance, so just the usage of said device, and the overall treatment outcomes. Because if you're not able to get a full treatment, it can take many, many, many more months for there to be an effective dose. Like, for instance, I've seen cases in other Facebook groups here on, because we're mostly on Facebook these days, a little bit on Twitter, a little bit on YouTube, but 25,000 members in my Facebook group and a couple thousand in other smaller Facebook groups with a central thesis on the importance of the vagus nerve. Some other groups push heavily because they have affiliate codes. They want to push you into buy this TENS unit, buy this device. You sometimes will see that with electrical devices that people take way too long to get results. Maybe 6 months, 10 months, 12 months of continuous usage up to that pain threshold with uncertainty if it's going to work. But they're very encouraging. We certainly can't fault them for that. They're like, no, you go, girl, you got this. It's like very girl boss, girl power kind of thing, like empowerment, which I'm all for. But certainly it can kind of keep them locked into that kind of like minimal return on time spent investment thing. Yeah, or it can have some negative side effects too, but we won't go into that too much. So anyway, I've pretty much spoken a lot about the electrical stimulation. Let's switch it around to sonication, okay? So here's what, it's funny, when I put sonication into the chat in Facebook, it automatically tries to tag other pages. I got Sonic drive-through instead of sonication. So anyway, sonication. All right, so sonication. What is sonication? Sonication is completely on the other side of the spectrum here. So sonication typically utilizes ultrasound waves to sonicate the vagus nerve. It modulates vagus nerve activity in a very, very different way. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So this specific technique involves applying oftentimes either focused or unfocused, pulsed or continuous wave sonication into a specific region or a specific area where the vagus nerve is located. This can result in localized nerve modulation. This modulates vagus nerve activity for the better. And unlike electrical stimulation, which requires a handheld device, sonication can be performed using non-invasive ultrasound equipment. So one significant advantage of sonication is its ability to penetrate deep into the body without causing any physical discomfort whatsoever. When we compare that to electrical stimulation, the deeper into the body that you're trying to penetrate electricity, as its claws kind of like go in and kind of like wrap around to complete the circuit through your tissue. Electricity, the deeper it goes, the higher the power, the higher the current, the higher the voltage and wattage. And then you can increase the discomfort significantly just by trying to get electricity to travel really deep into the body. So it's basically impractical to get electricity deeper into the body. Whereas with ultrasound, it's like it eats that kind of stuff for breakfast. Ultrasound can travel to basically any penetration depth in the body where there might be a novel vagal circuit that you want to stimulate. For instance, I keep on pointing to the neck, but the vagus nerve goes through your entire body. So there might actually be some targets down here that can give you much more beneficial, much more organ-specific modulation of vagus nerve activity. For instance, one example of like why you would even want to go down that route is there's a drug that's very popular today. It's a weight loss drug. It's also a diabetes drug. It's called a GLP-1 agonist, and it's often goes by the name of Mounjaro or Ozempic or semaglutide or any of these generic or brand names of this drug that people are injecting in their arm. It gives them basically the sensation of feeling full more often. They eat less food, and people are losing like 40, 30, 20 pounds rather easily with good lifestyle, diet, moving, these kinds of things, right? So where was I? Oh, yeah. So in terms of the specific organ that is being targeted by this weight loss drug, it's actually going to be your pancreas, which really sits right here, right below your rib cage, right next to your stomach, right here on the very bottom of your sternum, on that kind of that soft spot on your belly. So with something like sonication, whereas you cannot do this with electricity, with sonication, you can derive that wave into the target area. You can go into the pancreas. And so what we're seeing is that you can get, in some cases, significant mimic-like benefits as those diabetic drugs, type 2 diabetic treatments that you can with the drug, which can be very expensive. I believe Mongiorno paid with cash is about $2,000 per month. It's about $2,000 per month for that drug. And that's basically with no end in sight. You just basically continue to keep it. You have to keep on buying the drug again and again. So hopefully your insurance covers it. But with something like sonication, typically you get the Sonicator, right? And these are devices manufactured by General Electric and larger Philips, Sonicare, Sonosite, bigger ultrasound companies that can get ultrasound into that area. But nonetheless, zero pain involved. Zero pain whatsoever. Perfect targeting of the exact efferent and afferent fibers of your vagus nerve that go to your pancreas. So you can sonicate the pancreas with that. Yeah, and no side effects. It's right, exactly, Sarah. So yes, sonication is pretty dang remarkable. It doesn't have any of the, because like if you were going to put electricity onto your pancreas, it'd be like wearing an ab crunch machine. It'd be very uncomfortable to get that much energy into the pancreas. You'd be like, oh, like that. So that's not practical, right? Could it work? Potentially, yeah. But the only forms of electrical stimulation that you're going to find anywhere from below the collarbone is going to have to be implanted. There's just no way around it. There's no over the skin stimulation of any type of vagus nerve targets within your rib cage that you can get to with electricity. But with sonication, you can get it pretty much anywhere that you target. But you have to know how to target. You have to be able to see the target with sonar, with active sonar reading, so you can see the target and make sure you're hitting the right thing. So certainly that makes the complexity of the technology much higher. But at some point we have to say, well, this could be amazing. This could be really worth it. So yeah, that's a huge benefit, right? The ability to go deep within the body, and no matter where you place it, there's no discomfort. There's zero discomfort compared to electrical stimulation. But yeah, sonication can precisely target the vagus nerve, which can allow for precise modulation of its activity based on the parameters that you set. Additionally, sonication has been shown to have way fewer side effects, if not almost practically zero side effects in any meaningful sense, and higher patient tolerability compared to electrical stimulation. So a lot of people go for electrical stimulation to start. They try it. It sucks. It hurts them, and they throw that stuff away. They ultimately do land in the in the camp of sonication ultimately anyway. So whatever your particular journey might be, you are always welcome into the sonication camp, right? Into the tribe of sonication people. I think I came up with some corny ass names yesterday on what we could call it. Let me see if I can pull those up here. I took some notes. It was kind of funny. I was just kind of joking around last night in one of my here it is. Sonic fans. What are some Sonic? So we got a couple names for the squad. Okay, so Sonic Squad, Sonication Squad, Sonic Seekers. What else? Sonic Boomers, Ultrasonic Society. I like this one. What do you guys think? So if you hear me say one, let me know what you think. If you like it, type it back in the chat. So I'll read out a couple. Ultrasonic Society. So you just write society. Sound Wave Savants. That's pretty clever. Here, I'll do this. I'm going to post in the chat a list of them here. So you can read those and be like, oh, that one sounds good. If you like any of them. I mean, look, we're not necessarily guaranteed to have to use these terms, but I thought they were kind of funny. Sonic. Here's one that did stand out for me. Sonic surfers, right? And I could refer to people as, where are my Sonic surfers at, right? And the reason I like that is because when you get past a certain age and you start going to the gym, you start taking care of your health, what do people call that group? They call them the silver surfers, right? So if you're a silver surfer, you're a person who's got some of those silver hairlines growing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've got some silver hair growing myself, like a couple, right? Not full on, but you know, it happens. And they call you a silver surfer, right? If you see 7 a.m., you see the beach, you see those older people in their jumpsuits speed walking. Those are silver surfers, right? So yeah, so Sonic Surfer, I thought could be kind of an interesting new play on this, kind of a redefinition of it, right? A Sonic Surfer. Which does kind of represent, like, again, at the end of the day, a lot of the clientele that I do work with and assist with, the people who are jumping up and down saying, me, I want to try this. This sounds so cool, are folks who are, you know, more mature, more refined in their you know, their selection of technology in terms of medicine. They're obviously more discerning consumers of health options, right? They're not just looking for some like a little electrical keychain thing that they can strap around their neck or whatever. It's so yeah, so something like Sonic Surfers I thought was kind of cool. We've also got like Wave Whisperer, Ultra Enthusiasts, Sonic Techies, Pulse Pioneers, Sonic Stim Squad. So all kinds of options, Ultra Vibers. I don't know if I like that one, but Sonic Surfer, I don't know. There's something, that one definitely caught my eye, and I created a story out of it like pretty much immediately. So anyway, so I thought that was kind of cool. But so getting back to it, right? If we kind of bring it back to the difference between Sonication. Ooh, I like TK. You got a good one. Vegas Vibers. I like it, right? The Vegas Vibers. If there's alliteration, I'm here for it. If we can rhyme it and use V's or S's, it's all good. So definitely there are some significant advantages to Sonication versus electrical stimulation by far. Big differences. But yeah, you know, tolerability I think is really big. Here's another one. So another advantage of Sonication versus electrical stimulation is the potential for controlled and adjustable therapy sessions. This is really key. So by altering this will open up the future of medicine here. And this is actually an area of research that I'm heavily involved in right now, which is to map out all of the sonic frequencies and combinations of frequencies and intensities and parameters for sonication work on the vagus nerve to see the modulation, and you can adjust that per session. So every session can be a little different. You can modulate it. I don't typically, for some of the folks that I advise with this technology, I don't typically recommend changing it every single day. I'm typically recommending in their early months is to modulate every week. You do 1 week of one type of therapeutic session, and then the next week make a small shift, make a small change there. Here's the thing. Most people really mess up their care and they make it way more complex because they're trying like zigging and zagging on every category, and nobody is going to be able to figure out what's going on with your health if you can't have the self-restraint to follow something that's consistent, like a protocol, right? One skill that I learned way back when I was doing more consulting work with large ultrasound companies and biotech was we had to run Facebook ads, right? We had to do targeted Google SEO targeting and some Facebook ads, and we had to type in the name of the audience. So we had to target, professionals that were academics working in universities with an interest in neuroscience. We had to kind of narrow down our advertising spend into kind of a narrow window of a certain type of people. Now, when you first start targeting with ads that group of person, you typically aren't going to see $1 million in sales on the very first day. Sometimes it can take a full week or sometimes 10 days of just constantly looking at your credit card, racking up charges. Because every time someone sees that ad, you have to pay. And so with running ads, you have to be very zen, patient, thorough. You can't be like jumping around like a scared animal. You have to make a choice and stick with it. And if you hear all the panicking, like, oh my God, we're not making the kind of sales that we wanted to, right? I'm not making back the money. You're typically going to spend yourself into a deficit. But if you have a good offer and you have a good product and you have good marketing material and landing pages and you've targeted the right type of people, you know that the fundamentals are there. You're going to actually see people clicking, buying, sale. And then you go dip and then you go up. And most people can't take the heat. Most people cannot stand not seeing instantaneous results on day one, that they will change the ads completely within 2 days. Most people mess up Facebook ads or online advertisement by making a commitment, not seeing instant results, which most people are into instant gratification. And then they make some radical change. They change the website, they change the ad, they change the market, they change the audience all every single day, and they're never going to get a result. Not giving the system enough time to explore the space, you are cutting your feet off right at the root. So it's the same thing. I see that with people in their health. When they select an option to stimulate or sonicate their vagus nerve, if they don't see instantaneous results within the first week, then they go, oh my God, I must be doing something wrong. I should try something else. It's like, oh my God, like, no, not at all. Like, that is so misguided. But again, the fact that they're so quick to do that shift outside of what they started and committed to is exactly most likely why they haven't found success in a lot of other things. Because if you can't stick with something that's fundamentally correct, look, you always just have to go back to first principles here. Is it a good idea to stimulate your vagus nerve? Generally speaking, yes. Can we say, okay, first principles would state that having a vagus nerve that is alive and vibrant is a good thing to have. That's an absolute yes. So is taking attention away from the vagus nerve and ignoring it and not giving yourself the right supplementation that your vagus nerve needs, is that a good or a bad idea? That's generally going to be a pretty bad idea. Your vagus nerve, when it's given the right supplementation, when it's modulated properly, when it's given love and care and attention, and you give it this space to flow, meaning you work on your neck and you stretch and you get mobilization, your vagus nerve then is able to thrive and work. And if I gave all the best, fundamentally the best materials to someone, and I dropped it off at their feet, all the tools and the strategies for them to succeed, all that really takes is for them to just pick that stuff up and just commit to being serious and being consistent with using it. But far too often, people have endless sea of knowledge and tons of information, and they might have a lot of the right tools at their hand, but they have no way to put it together. They have no systems. It's just this kind of floating cloud above their head, and they really can't commit. And what I see works the best is oftentimes is when you commit to sonication. That's when things turn around. Literally, it's just a huge turnaround for people's health, for their mental well-being. And I mean, I don't even like to use the word well-being. I was just thinking about this the other day. Well-being doesn't even cover it. Well-being is like such a low bar to start saying, oh, we're going to help you get your well-being back. I'm like, no. And so I started thinking about it. I started looking it up. I was like, what is like orders of magnitude higher than well-being? And what I came up with the help of a really good thesaurus, is radiant life, radiant energy, radiant. You are not only good in your body, but you're so good that the people that you are around feel that energy. And they're like, holy shit, what are you doing in your health that you look so good? That's radiant. That's not well-being, okay? Well-being, that's like VegasCure.com. That's like the most basic rudimentary thing that anybody can do well-being. But can you get to radiant? Can you get to the point where someone walks by you, an old friend from a few years ago, you haven't seen them in a few months, and they literally stop in their tracks, look behind their shoulder at you, and go, hold up. Is that Charlene? What? What the hell happened to you? You look amazing. And she's like, oh my God, I feel amazing. You'll never believe I started this thing with this guy, Sterling Cooley. I joined his program, and it's so much I can't even begin to describe for you what we're doing. But we're doing this incredible work with the vagus nerve. And all I can really tell you and recommend to you is just get on a call with this guy. Talk to him. Tell him what's going on with your health. See if there's a potential to change your life, right? Something there could happen. There's definitely potential, and it's free to do the call. So you should definitely take that opportunity. And that is a real story. That literally is a real true story I'm telling you right now. That is the example of radiant health. And the people that do those calls are like, they know by the time they're talking to me, they're like, I'm pretty sure I'm already going to sign up for this, but I do want to talk to you. I do want to be sure that this could be a good fit. So that's exciting. And you know how we get there? It's not electrical. We're not doing electrical stimulation. I can guarantee you that. We're definitely doing sonication. Sonication, neuromodulation. We are the sonic surfers. We are the vagus vibers. We are the ones who get you to radiant life force energy. That is what is on offer when you ignore all the noise about electricity this, electricity that, and you go, what else could there be, right? Your decision is not between not to stimulate, because look, most people in their mind are deciding between am I gonna still do what I'm doing right now, which is basically nothing. Whatever you're doing right now is comparatively nothing. Or am I going to electrically stimulate my vagus nerve? Am I going to do nothing? Or am I going to electrically stimulate my vagus nerve? The option between the two is not the right option. These are false dichotomies. You're trapped in a loop between two non-real choices. That's not a choice. That's just a dilemma. And that's no good option at all. Either one, you're never going to get to radiant health anyway. You may be kind of close to well-being here, but it's not radiant. So the real choice you need to make is, do I want to have well-being, or do I want to have radiant energy that people walk by me and notice from a mile away? and they go, holy fuck, what the hell are you doing with your health? What changed? Did you meet a young, handsome man, or what? I mean, what happened, right? Did you go to the Bahamas and meet a tall, dark stranger? Tell me what's up, right? What's happening? And I may not be a tall, dark stranger or anything like that, but certainly, when we talk about the vibe and sonication, that should be the other end of the choice spectrum for you. On one side, the real choice is, am I going to sonicate my vagus nerve for the chance and the direction towards radiant health, or am I going to electrically stimulate my vagus nerve like a dog collar so that I can maybe get some well-being, and maybe I'll like it, maybe it will really fuck me up. Or maybe I want radiant sonic health. Or do I want the equivalent of an anti-cough shock collar around my neck? Which will it be? Right? Which way, Western folks? Which direction will you choose? Those are the only two options you have. That is it. Electrical stimulation or sonication. You really need to make those. That's it. Those are the two choices you have these days. Okay. So, where I would certainly encourage you to go. But at the end of the day, this is 100% your choice to make. You get to make that call. Okay. So let's wrap it up here, because I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think it's been a lot of fun. I hope you've had a good time. I've been getting some great, just adoring feedback over on Twitter. So I thank you guys so much for, wow, you guys, you know how to puff me up, you know how to put the cherry on my sundae. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the wonderful feedback over on X and Twitter. So let's conclude here. So as we've learned today, both electrical stimulation and sonication have their merits. It is clear that ultrasound-based sonication of the vagus nerve offers a number of several benefits over traditional electrical stimulation. And the non-invasiveness, the deeper tissue penetration, the more options for stimulation, the improved patient tolerability of sonication. You can put sonication here, you can put it here. Your muscles aren't going to be twitching. They're not going to be like, that doesn't happen with sonication. So of course you have improved patient tolerability, of course. And so these factors, not even alone, make sonication a much more favorable option in many clinical grade scenarios. So as technology continues to advance, of course, we'll find that sonication-based neuromodulation techniques hold great promise for the future of vagus nerve stimulation therapies, as well as many other types of therapies. Just as a tiny little cherry or a little dangling carrot, there are groups right now that are working on sonication helmets that sonicate regions of your brain and can induce incredible states of altered consciousness with a few chirps of sonication into your brain through your skull. There's some amazing stuff that is happening in the sonication world. Electrical stimulation, again, it's just going to be kind of like putting lipstick on a what. We've been electrically stimulating nerves for a very, very long time. Short of, look, the only option for electrical stimulation that's going to have some wow factor to it is when they drill a hole through your skull, they cork it with a Neuralink, and they throw 1,000 copper silicone wafer cables, like threads, neural threads, into your brain, into your cortex. That's going to have wow factor to it. That's going to electrically stimulate your brain inside of your brain. Electricity in the skin, though, is very diffuse. It goes like lightning. You know, electricity, lightning, when a lightning bolt strikes the ground, you know, it spreads all over the place. If you are standing within, I think, 50 feet of a tree that gets blasted with a lightning strike, you're dead. Okay? So this whole idea that I'm electrically stimulating my vagus nerve through some handheld thing going through my skin, it's like, you know that electricity is going all over your whole neck. You can feel it. It's going to your muscles. Trust me. You'll feel it. So anyway, you've got a couple options. I guess, okay. I know some of you are out there going like, but Sterling, I still do have a third option. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but you do. You do have a third option. The third option is still, again, to do nothing at all about any of this stuff. Okay? So that is still the third option. You can say, yeah, you know what? I don't want to electrically do anything. I don't want to sonically neuromodulate. I just want to continue to do jack squat. And I don't feel well and I don't feel radiant, but this is comfortable for me. And anything that pushes me outside of my comfort zone is uncomfortable. And some people can learn to be okay with feeling not okay. And that sucks. But what are you going to do? Right? So for those who know that that's not cool, who've been taught better than that, then I certainly encourage you to get your butt into the Facebook group. Join. We're going to be doing a 5-day challenge here very soon. We'll be sending out emails. So we're going to be doing a live 5-day event. So I'm really excited to announce that today. And so that'll be coming up soon. We'll have probably like 50 people live on those. Anytime we do an event, people are like flies to honey. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. It's been an experience and a half. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, and we'll play ourselves out with some good music. Bye-bye.